The Orioles are coming into town to play against our Philadelphia Phillies, and then they're going to go on a nice road trip after. So this 3-game set in Citizens Bank Park starts tonight at 6:45. We are going to talk about this Phillies, the trade deadline, and everything that's happened over the last week. A little bit delayed on the recap. We had a warehouse day with Hunter Pence. Stay tuned for some warehouse challenge content with former Philly Hunter Pence. But the deadline, we had Jhoan Duran, obviously, and Harrison Bader were the two deadline moves that Dave Dombrowski makes. Duran goes to Minnesota for Mick Abel and Eduardo Taiit. On paper, this is a great trade, and I said it on Instagram. The biggest thing here for me, the Phillies being able to get this deal done. You get a top 3, maybe even the best closer in baseball for you. They held on to their top 3 prospects, 1, 2, and 3. And this goes to Mick Abel. Shout out Mick Abel, who at one point in time was a first-round pick, pitched in the Future Stars game, was a top 50 prospect, got up to AAA, and then suddenly the book on him was he walks everybody, and it's just not going to work. And he started sliding. He spent 2 years sliding down ranks. And then this year, when pretty much, I'll tell you what, a lot of the fan base had completely written him off, has a bounce, big season, figures it out, gets his debut, pitches well for the Phillies. He gets sent back down for no reason other than the starting rotation is stacked. Pitches good in Lehigh, and he gets us a game changer in a return in Jhoan Duran. Now, my biggest concern, and this is why I've been out on trading Andrew Painter for a closer, is it solves the 9th inning. You still have to win the first 8 innings in order for this person to actually be impactful. Now, it is a game changer. It bumps the guys back a little bit. It takes that 9th inning pressure off of Schramm and Orion Kerkering. And, we'll see how things fit moving forward, especially with even David Robertson's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. It is a monster addition to this team. But the other issue with this team going into the deadline was the offensive side of things, specifically hitting left-handed starting pitching. How are we going to figure out lefties in the playoffs? You already see teams loading up lefties when they play the Phillies in the regular season. You see the Mets grabbing extra lefties for their team. They added Manaea, and he was great, ended up being a dagger in a playoff series against us. Dave Peterson's really good. Then you want to get into the Tarek Skubals if you were to get to a World Series and you're playing a team like that. Tigers just came into town over the weekend, and Skubal absolutely dog-walked this lineup. And it's an issue. Hitting lefties has been a problem for this team for over a year now. We still have a 3-year-old Rhys Hoskins size hole in the middle of this lineup. It is insane that we have a $300 million payroll, a World Series expectation team, and our 4 hole any given night is based off who's hot. We don't have a dude there. We should have a dude there. Ryan Howard we were never shuffling the 4 hole in 2008. I know the game's a little bit different now, but it's been an issue with this team. And you grab Harrison Bader. Granted, I like the move. I was hesitant at first. I still don't think it's much of a needle mover, especially knowing that they're going to use him in a platoon type of role, which I will get into and don't necessarily love. But there wasn't really anything else out there. And we've said this the last couple of years, but it just continues to remain true. The funniest thing that happened for the trade deadline for me, I was scrolling my feed, and I seen multiple Phillies outlets saying things like, if this team gets someone like Alex Call, I'm going to be furious. 10 minutes later, the Dodgers traded for him. The Dodgers, who all day up until that point were the front runner to land Stephen Kwan, they settle for Alex Call. That tells me that the price was too high across the board. We're not giving up Andrew Painter for that. I'm sorry, and I don't necessarily know if that even gets it done based off of how the market moved. So I have a hard time, once again, criticizing Dave Dombrowski with this deadline. It's a tough spot. We need, again, guys within this team, Nick Castellanos, Alec Bohm when he comes back. JT Realmuto has hit great over the last month, and hopefully he can keep this running into the playoffs. If JT Realmuto hits the way he has the last month into the playoffs, that's huge for this team compared to the first 2 months of the season. But that's what they need. These righties that are already here getting paid, Realmuto, Castellanos making big money, Alec Bohm expected to have a huge role for this team. You need these guys to step up. You need them to step up. Dombrowski going and getting a Duran and retooling this pitching staff year in, year out, every time someone becomes available tells me he's constantly looking to upgrade this team. And I think he's done a great job retooling in the offseason and at these deadlines over the last few years. And it would be nice to see these $20 million bats hit like $20 million bats behind the two lefties that are performing that way. Because Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber are both hitting at an MVP level right now. Bryce is back to his normal ways ever since the injury. Kyle Schwarber is who he is. Let's get into my concern with Harrison Bader. Because, and I knew this was going to happen, and this is why it just, as soon as I already have the same look on my face that I had in that reaction video that I posted on Instagram. It's not Harrison Bader. I like Harrison Bader. He is a huge upgrade defensively in this outfield, and he is a much better hitter than a Max Kepler. It's not a wide gap. He's not some game-changing hitter, but he is better than what we have. The problem is he has reverse splits and we're platooning him. I don't understand, and I seen it coming. He's batting .229 against lefties, and we're platooning him already. He was having the best year of his career since he broke out with the Cardinals in 2021, a 113 OPS plus against righties, 772 OPS, 263 batting average. The batting average is down 34 points against lefties. It's down 32 points on base percentage against lefties. The OPS is down 30 points against lefties. If we're going to bring this guy in because we have the worst producing outfield in 100 years of this franchise's history, shout out ESPN for the stat, worst offensive production in this outfield in 100 years, 30 out of 30 in left, 30 out of 30 in center across the league, and you go get a guy that's having a decent season, play him every day. Just give him a little bit of runway. We've already said Justin Crawford, who I'm going to talk about a little bit here, having a big year in AAA. He's hitting lefties really well down there. He's someone that Dave has said he wants to play every day, and I get that. You're not going to bring him up because you're not going to play him every day at the major league level. Great, but if we're going to go make an addition, someone who has played every day this season and attracted your attention, give him an opportunity. I don't like that. That is my one big concern about the last few days, on top of the already pre-existing, how do we hit lefties come playoff time? Because, yes, I said it on Twitter many times, the reason I wanted Lou Bob, despite how disgusting his stat line actually is this year, he smashes lefties. And he's in a division where he's seen Scooble a few times. So it's not exactly like padded stats. He hits lefties, and this team needed that. But just like Steven Kwan, the White Sox just don't seem to want to move this guy. The Dodgers are rumored on him. The Phillies are rumored. The Mets apparently really wanted Robert. And we see how aggressive they are right now. They stay put on him. What do you expect? It's like that. I genuinely think that the White Sox think he's going to have an MVP season before his arbitration runs out, and they want to capitalize in that moment, and they're willing to run it until the wheels fall off and he just goes into free agency, which would be a very White Sox move. I think it's one more. Let's check. I think he's got one more year after this one. It might be two. There is some runway there, but just he was on the boat when this team was supposed to push for a World Series a couple years ago, when they made the play, when the Yerman Mercedes guys were coming up and playing good for this team, and Eloy was a top prospect. They have two club options after this season. So he's not even our. You're paying him $20 million a year now for the next two. They're going to exercise those options, obviously, since they held on to him. It would be weird if they just let him walk this winter. So you're about to pay him $20 million, and you're making that decision versus getting assets back for him when your team's really bad. So I think they're expecting him to have a monster season next year or the year after. Maybe they cash in there, but it's just, I don't know. It was a bullpen year. There was bullpen available everywhere. Mason Miller gets moved. The Mets add multiple arms to their pen. The Giants, by the way, came out of nowhere. Great deal both ways. I like that move for the Mets, and that's another move going back to teams that are stacking lefties against the Phillies. Rogers owns the Phillies. You go look at his stats, he dominates the Phillies. So that's the Mets not only targeting a good pitcher, getting someone specifically who dominates a team that they know they're going to have to see. And the Mets are already a bad matchup for the Phillies. So, there were so many arms moving on the trade deadline. It was insane. The Mets and the Phillies, it's going to be wild. It's going to come down to the Mets and the Phillies later in the season, and I don't know. It's going to be fun. Who's hot? Who's not? Now, my outlook for the rest of the season, deadline considered. I've also said this a lot the last couple of weeks, but I can't fully judge this roster until Nola and David Robertson are on it. because they are expected to be on the postseason team. So once you get Taijuan Walker in that long relief role, we're going to bump Kerkering and Strom down into the 7th, 8th inning role. It's going to be Seth Johnson, Joe Ross. Who gets kicked out of here when David Robertson comes up, especially down the stretch in September? Which one of these starters is going to get moved to the bullpen? Because that is absolutely happening. You're most likely going to get Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez. Who knows? Who knows? Because even if Jesus Luzardo just like figures it out and starts pitching good out of the stretch, you'll probably have to at least consider him for maybe a game 3 or a game 4. Depends on how guys are looking. They have so many options. Someone's bound to go to the bullpen. So they're going to get more guys later as well. The biggest thing is just these bats. Who's going to step up in September and October against these left-handed pitchers that they're going to have to face? This Mets series comes around the corner. You're going to see David Robertson and Sean Manaea probably 3, maybe 4 times around Kodai Senga, might I add, with a good bullpen. So the concerns with the lineup are real. My concerns with the market not matching up with our needs, I think, continues to be the biggest issue with this team right now. But I'm excited. There's a chance you see Justin Crawford when the rosters expand. They've even hinted at Andrew Painter. I know he's got a 4.5 ERA in AAA right now. There's a lot of fans that are already doing that thing where he sucks. But the stuff has been exactly what you would expect. He's just facing major league caliber hitters now in AAA. And guys that have been at the major league level, might I add, Ryan Mountcastle on a rehab stint was one of the people who took him deep. It's not like he's getting slapped around by Joe Schmo down there. He has looked good. The stuff and the spin rates, we have access to this information now. There's a reason they're holding on to him. And there's a chance you see him down the stretch. It depends on how things go. But the Phillies, with the Orioles coming into town this week, you got a 3-game set. Then you're going to have a day off on Thursday. And then they go on a nice little road trip. They go all the way down to Texas. Then they fly back up to Cincinnati. And then they got a 4-game set against the Nationals before they come back home. So a nice little road trip while we will be doing floorball and such in the warehouse. Big shout out to Warehouse Content. Again, we started things off with a little shout out. Go check out Warehouse Games and Warehouse Challenges on YouTube if you haven't already. You're going to be able to check out content with me and Hunter Pence coming out in the near future. And make sure you're subscribed and following all Cherry Pinstripes social media content. The Instagram has been booming the last couple of weeks. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify. And we'll check you guys out next week. I'm out.